Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you again for joining. This is, I don't know anymore, like session 10 or something. So it's the 10th recording of the EFP sessions. I realize that it is sometimes confusing that my slides don't match the number of the presentations, the recordings. That's simply because, for instance, in this case too, we are using basically for the third time the same slide deck. So it shows session 7, but basically session 7, the slides, well, it was session 7, but we are using the same one in all the sessions that came after it. And that's basically because the gateway is probably one of the most important components of the full solution. And it took me personally a lot of time to get everything to work. We discovered some bugs and some issues. We have all been solving them. And basically what we will do today is discuss this scenario, which was already introduced previously with this slide. You might remember the slide where I explained about bridging remote VXLANs. And I've just prepared, it's basically also work in progress, a slide in order to show you exactly what we will be doing. And in the process, it will probably also answer some questions that we got mainly from Herbert about network configuration, about backplane, and about making sure that whenever you use a gateway, at some point, you need to configure, of course, also your physical network layer, and there needs some like connectivity, there needs some configuration, extra configuration, which we haven't been discussing up till now. So that's also something I will discuss with you today. Again, this is the same slide deck. So welcome in the session about networking with Zero-S Gateway. And this time we are, and I need to change it, this time we are at this point, it's about bridging remote VXLANs. So this means that we have been having sessions about gateway like for the 4th time today. The first one was really an introduction and a bigger picture explanation about what it's all about. Then we have been working for the last few days, the last few sessions with the gateway. This is in a way the final session about the gateway, but it will never be the real final session because there will be many other topologies that you will want to support. Already today, I've been doing some configuration that will need more explanation later. But for sure, I'm not going to plan any other VXLAN session this week anymore because, well, we still need to cover AYS and Open-V Cloud. And my plan still is, so to do that in the next session. And the next session then needs to be tomorrow. So that will be my challenge. So tomorrow I'm also planning to do a session. I'm planning to do basically this session, working with AYS, working with blueprints. And what I will probably do during the next session, I will show you an AYS template that was created specifically to talk to AYS. To the orchestrator. So basically creating a blueprint. So you'll be creating a blueprint that, for instance, could deploy a container. So until now, we have been deploying containers, or we have been deploying gateways, or we have been deploying virtual machines through the API. And until now, most of the time, we have been doing that through the API, the REST API, exposed by the orchestrator, by using most of our time Insomnia. The next step is that you use these REST APIs from code that you put into AYS templates. And once you have created an AYS template that is basically then including the code to talk to the orchestrator API, you can then send blueprints, simple human-readable documents, blueprints as we call them, to AYS to specify in a rather declarative way what you want. Instead of specifying APIs and specifying all arguments that you typically need to pass in an API, you do that through in this case, a blueprint. And a blueprint is then not a JSON, but a YAML file that you send to AYS, including in a very declarative way, YAML file, what you want get done. And in our case, what I'll really will try to show you tomorrow is a blueprint deploying, for instance, a gateway, or a blueprint for deploying a virtual machine. At the end of the day, what you really want to achieve is to create a blueprint that describes in a very declarative way, again, a full solution, which includes a gateway, which includes multiple virtual machines and multiple containers and all kinds of network configuration. And a production version of the AOS template would be much more sophisticated than what I'm planning to show you. But then again, that's what will get introduced to you tomorrow. I don't plan to cover OpenV Cloud tomorrow. But I mean, I will cover OpenV Cloud from a 2.7 version, so I'll make sure that you see it. So until now, I only showed you some screenshots. I will show you OpenV Cloud, but I will not show you how to run OpenV Cloud on top of ZeroOS or on top of the orchestrator. That will be something that we still will want to cover after my holidays, which is like the second half of August. Then we'll have sessions about using or running OpenV Cloud on top of ZeroOS. And then also we'll show you how you can use at your service to basically deploy things that are related more to OpenV Cloud, but then running on top of ZeroOS. But for now, I don't think that's an issue. So let's stick to the plan. Furthermore, what I didn't change in the slides, but we also took a lot of time this week, and to be very open with you, this is basically also the reason why I had to postpone the session of yesterday, because we switched from 903 to 910. I could change it in the slides now, but that's still something I need to decide. The main reason, let me tell you, the main reason why I had to switch to 901 is that, remember that we have this validity argument that you can pass when creating a JWT, and through that extra argument, you could option, you could then specify, you know what, I want to create, or I want to generate a JWT that's only valid for 1 hour. And as you might remember, the orchestrator or AYS both only accept JWTs that are valid for a maximum 1 hour. The problem was with the 103 version of jump scale we have been using until now, the feature that accepts this validity option was not yet there yet. So you could not specify that you wanted to have a JWT that is only valid for 1 hour. And that typically caused the problem that when you would then start using the orchestrator AYS, that he would start complaining about JWT which was not accepted. So this is something we fixed in 910. 910 is much more than just that, to be sure. Well, the current configuration is that we use 190. We might still decide, right, that we will make this feature also available in 910, just to be sure that that also 903 works well for everybody. Good. So what we will do today, remember this slide. So this is what we have been doing until now in like 3 sessions. The last session, we showed you basically what is being depicted here with the gateway tree. We introduced the gateway tree that was also connected to a zero-tier network. Yeah? And what I showed you in the demo is that by doing so, you can then basically connect your private network, yeah, your home network, your office network, your corporate network, yeah, through a gateway to a VXLAN that lives in a 0S cluster. And you might remember that on my machine, I had in order to do so, I had to, that's what you see here, I had to execute on my machine, which is a Mac, this command, which says that all, well, networking traffic that needs to go to this address will then get forward to this zero-tier network. So that's what we showed the other time. Today, we will again work with zero-tier networking, not for talking about the management network, because that was the very first case where we used zero-tier network, not for connecting a VXLAN to your private home corporate network, but this time, and you might not know it, but even for us, this is a quite exciting point in time in the history of Green IT Globe. This time to connect two VXLANs that are living on completely different 0S clusters with each other. So basically enabling, so this picture will go away in the future. This will be the picture that shows much better what we try to do. I still need to update it a little bit because this thing with the internet gateway is not completely true, but then again, most of the things you see on the pictures are correct. So what we do in this case, we have like two clusters. The left cluster this time is a cluster that is a very simple one. It's a cluster with two nodes where I run one container on, in this case, one of the nodes in VirtualBox. I'll show you how I did that. It's quite straightforward. And my gateway is also running as a container on the same node in VirtualBox. And I'm using on my local machine a Docker container, which is not depicted here, a Docker container with JumpScale 9 running where the orchestrator is. So the orchestrator is running on my local machine. Yeah. On the other hand, we have basically the same thing as what I showed you already in the previous slide. We are basically talking about the same system that was photographed in my slides. Where is it? The picture, this one. So we're talking about this system. We are still using the same system. Yeah. And we have been using CPU node 8, 9, and 10 until now. And in this case, we'll be using CPU node 3 and 4. I repeat, just as the other time, there is no particular reason why you would want to add or install gateways on separate CPU nodes. You could all put them in one single CPU node. There is no reason why not doing so. But just for clarity, I'm separating things a little bit, which makes it much more easy for me also to demonstrate. What is different this time is that we'll be introducing a new gateway, yeah, which again will introduce another VXLAN, yeah, with another subnet. Yeah? Remember, in my previous demos, I've been talking about a subnet 121 or 121, 122, and now we are talking about another subnet. Let me verify, so I'm really sure. Yeah? So let me check here my slides. So the subnets we have been talking about, you see, 118, 118, 119, and 120. Okay, I'm going to use now 123, whatever, yeah? And what you see this time is that we have the same subnet, yeah, left and right, yeah? But
excuse me, Yves.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe for the clarity of the picture, VXLAN 1 and we have the same name for the VXLANs in both sides.
Yeah.
But that's misleading. It can be VXLAN whatever exactly.
Yeah. So it's very important to mention that. And we also made sure in the demo that we made that very clear. I still had to update my picture. So these are really completely different VXLANs. You configure them completely independent of each other. The only thing that they have in common is that they have been configured to use the same subnet. Yeah? And what you will see, the container I will launch on my 0S node running on VirtualBox will have IP address 11, let's say, while my virtual machine at the other side is 12. And of course, I need to manage that. When I will give them the same IP address, clearly you will have conflicts, you will have things that will go wrong. Okay? So that's basically what we do. Now, and this is a quite exciting configuration, simply because this is the kind of thing that many customers have been asking us for quite a while. To be very open with you, some people will already know, with the 2.7 version of OpenV Cloud, this was not supported. Yeah, you could not have like two cloud spaces, as we tend to call them, or two virtual data centers that get connected to each other, even if they were running on the same cluster. So even within the same cluster, we could not do this. Clearly, we can do that now, and we could have demonstrated that also here. But we wanted to immediately show you a scenario where we're talking about two completely different clusters. Yeah? So from a configuration perspective, it's the same way of configuring it. Okay, good. Let me immediately switch to the demo. And to be clear, I don't have any more slides on it. As always, I will complete the slides to include everything I show later. But for now, we'll do the demo. Okay, what I show you here, multiple things. Let me make sure that my screen is a little bit clear so that you see what I do. So there are two sides now. Let me also get away with this for a while, and let's take my insomnia. Yeah? So you see exactly what I'm going to do. Now in insomnia, what I did this time, you might remember the BEG3 environment. That is this what you see. What I did add now is a local environment. Yeah. And this local environment is talking to another orchestrator, but this time an orchestrator running on my local machine. So that's what I also can show you here. Let me take it on the screen so that it's pretty clear what I try to achieve. So let me show you. So this is, to be 100% sure, yeah, Control V0, yeah. What you see here, yeah, on this screen is an orchestrator that I set up on my local machine. Or to be more correct, this is the AYS service or server running on my local machine. So I did the same exercise, remember, with creating a Docker container, in this case on my Mac. And this time I used the 9.1.0 version of JumpScale. That's the only difference. For the rest, nothing specific about this setup. Yeah, and here I'm talking to this orchestrator, or in that AYS server. On the other hand, let me check, where is it? This one is the other orchestrator running the AYS on the BEG8 tree. So the more production environment, the bigger environment, or what we typically call a G8, a real G8. Yeah, and you're looking now at the AYS output on the other side. So that's good to know. So we basically have two AYS servers. One, this is the right one, and this is the left one. Right? Maybe let's put them next to each other like this. Here. Well, so this is my local machine, and well, where is it? This is my other one, like this. Well, good. So just to make sure that you see in a very visual way what you're looking at. Next, what I did, so let's first check my, my local environment. And we did some special things. First of all, what we did that we didn't do before, let me show you that here. When I do here an AYS list services, yeah, sorry. Yeah, and you know what? The whole command line thing about AYS will be covered in more detail in the next session. We already have been working a little bit with it, but well, that's what I expected. Of course, that my JW has expired. No issue. Let's quickly create a new one. Yeah, good. Thank you. So let's create an like this. Good. And then just copy the export. Yeah. This. Voilà. Good. Okay. List the services. Voila. You see a lot of things. That's because you already see the whole setup of our demo environment. But let me explain a little bit what you see. And let me, first of all, start with something that we haven't been covering before. This thing. This is the next service that you typically need to start in order to well, this is very related to the question we got, as I already said, by from Herbert, about the networking. How do you basically configure the physical network you have on your environment? Now, and that's what this service is responsible for. And let me show you, if I do a Vim blueprints, there is a blueprint, as you can see here, a blueprint for the network. Where is it? Okay, we made the decision to put it in the same, remember? So what we did, we took basically the blueprint that we used for the Bootstrap service, yeah? And that's an option you have. You can always create one big blueprint where you specify in a very declarative way again, all the configuration of all the services. You could put everything in one file. And that's what we did here. And this is the one I'm talking about. So, and that's also in the documentation. Maybe I should show you that in a minute. But this one is the service you need to start, yeah, in order to configure, in this case, the VLAN, the VLAN that is being configured on the switch, because that's something we cannot automate from within at your service. You need a switch somewhere, and the switch is connected to this G8 environment, and there is a VLAN with everything on it. But you also need to configure somewhere exactly the VLAN networking. That's what we do here. And this is one of the services that also needs to get started. And I think that's probably not something we can cover today, but this is clearly, especially given the question we got from Herbert, where we need to explain a little bit more what this service actually does. Well, let me tell you what it does a little bit. It will, for instance, also start, as I said already the other time, an open vSwitch container. And that's what you see also on when I list the services. Yeah? And here, when you then start the Bootstrap service, until now we only had these two lines in it. We added the line, this line, which refers to this list here, to the storage network we have set up here. Yeah? And why is it called a storage network? Well, it's maybe a little bit strange. It is because in a typical G8 environment, next to the zero-tier management network, you typically also have a very fast storage network in the backend. Yeah? And we are basically leveraging that storage network here, the backplane, for doing the, I don't know how to put it correctly,
To create the VXLANs.
To create the VXLANs. It's also on the same backend that we do that, the backplane that we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, this is a little bit strange because we are working here with a virtual box environment, so there is not something like that. But then again, also we could leverage that, and I will show you that in a minute in VirtualBox. Yeah?
Now, but we still need to figure out the exact configuration that we need in VirtualBox to work with multiple VirtualBox nodes on one machine. We were trying that this morning, but we didn't achieve that yet.
Yeah. Let us share with you how we got it to work. So when you have VirtualBox, you go to Preferences. So make sure you go to Preferences and not to the configuration. That's something else, but go to the preference of the VirtualBox environment. Go to Network. And what did we do there? First of all, we also created a host-only network, a new one, this one. So you can create one yourself. So add a new host-only network. That's the first thing you need to do. And there we made sure that DHCP server is not active. That's the first thing that we did. So that's an important one. To be honest, I'd never checked, but maybe this one also has. You see, that's the difference because the two others that are already there have been enabled with a DHCP server. So make sure that you create a new host-only network without, that's an important point, without any DHCP configuration. That's what we see here. No DHCP server enabled at this point. That's basically because the DHCP servers will be running on our part, on our side. We will make sure that these machines get their address from there. So that's an important one. They will get their IP addresses from us. That's one thing. The second thing you do, when you create these virtual machines, also there you go to Network. And in Network, we did two things. Yeah. First of all, the first adapter, until now we always specified NAT. Make sure that you specify NAT network. Yeah? That's important. And well, for the rest, you don't need to do anything else. That's an important one because otherwise we ended up with two virtual machines running in VirtualBox with the same IP address. And that clearly will not work. By specifying NAT network, you end up with two virtual machines with two distinct IP addresses. That's an important one. And that's clearly one of the points where we need to give you more explanation of why and exactly whether this, at the end of the day, is the best configuration to do it. Until now, that's our conclusion. On the second thing, make sure, this is interesting. The host-only network, we didn't specify, see? We didn't specify we did, sorry, the third one. So make sure that you specify for both virtual machines the newly created host-only network that has no DHCP server enabled. So this is important, yeah? And in a way, what you're doing here is mimicking a little bit a typical G8 setup, yeah? And this allowed us to leverage the after-service service that we have been created to set up the network, the VXLAN or the VLAN network that you typically need in a G8 network. So this is one important point to remember. So make sure that you do the correct configuration there, as we just showed you. Good. That's one thing. And furthermore, let me also make sure that you see it from the documentation side, just to take a reference to that one too. So let me check, I have too many things open here. Yeah, that's the one I need. Let me go here, let me add this, voila, so that you see it. Put it there, voila. Okay, so again, this is the documentation which has also been updated a little bit to give you more information. on how to set up a cluster. We have made it a little bit more complete, as you can see. But the part we never discussed in the documentation is, so we explained how to set up the configuration service. We have explained how to set up the bootstrap service. But in between, you see there is also a section about how to set up the backplane network. And again, this relates very much to the question we got from Herbert. And what we did now, and what we have been doing also for the BEG8 environment, is that we had to specify a network configuration. And here you recognize exactly what I showed you in the blueprint. Huh? So once again, we are leveraging the template that was created specifically for G8 environment, also for this environment where we are using VirtualBox, and make sure that you use this one. And make sure that in the bootstrap service, you add this line. This can be omitted for now, but in a typical production environment, you will also label it because this will make sure that the disks that are available on the node that will get attached get wiped, so that you really start from a stateless machine. That's the idea. But for now, for the demo purposes, it's okay to not do that. Okay, so this is important point, and what I feel that I need to do in a next session, is explain a little bit more what this service actually does. So that's something that we need to do later. But in general terms, clearly, that's what you also see here. When I go back to this one here, let's close this. Is what you see when I do again the listing of all the services. One of the services is also this one. See this? There are even two of them. Not sure why.
There is an OpenV switch container on every node.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Okay, makes sense, of course. So, and this is actually something you don't have to do yourself explicitly. This is a result of this service. So this service will start two other services, and each of these services is then responsible for creating an OpenV switch container on each of the machines. So remember, in my configuration, I'm running two 0S nodes within VirtualBox, and they are nicely connected to each other through the management network and so on. Yeah, good. So remember this, because this is basically a very important component in the solution, and you also see that here. Well, okay, come back to that too. The same thing goes also, by the way, all these things you haven't been. I repeat myself a little bit. But these services are 4 other examples of services you have not been creating yourself explicitly. They have been created, in this case, by the bootstrap service. Once they see these new nodes, and once they see that these nodes are compliant with the specifications, the conditions specified in the configuration service, they get joined. And for each of the nodes, a node service, AYS service, is being created, and a storage pool service is being created. And that is what is happening. Yeah? Okay, a lot of explanation, and I think for the future we need some visual representation of what this actually is. I will also make sure I make a visual representation and let's say the dependency trees between all these services. I think that would be nice. For the next session where we talk about AYS. Good. That all being said, let's first configure the left side, my local environment. So what I did, a few things. What we did, first of all, is create here a gateway. We created a gateway, and I'm going to show you it here. This is the configuration of the gateway. So let's first list all the gateways. And yeah, good, thank you. So make sure that I specify here node 1. I've created a parameter in my environment that already has the ID of it. So just for simplicity, yeah, of course we need to copy. I was a little bit, let's get back here. Let's copy the, where is it?
You don't need to go out of the Teams. You just need to be in.
What do I need to do?
Arrow up.
Yeah, like this. Yeah. Is this the one I used? I'm not sure. Huh? Yeah. Okay, copy it. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. So just make sure that I here, and this time I changed something, by the way. I know, I did it. Okay.
No, it's in base.
It's still in base. Okay, copy it there. For the other one, I did change it, that's why. Voila, done. Let's list the services or the gateways. So you see, I've created one gateway, a new gateway, running on my first node, my 0S node running in VirtualBox. Huh? Yeah. I'm not sure whether it is this one because it's not really clear. It will be this one, I think. Yeah, yeah, it is this one. You see? So this one is running one.
It's the other one.
It's the other one? You sure?
Yes, because this one only has one container.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we'll explain that. See? These are the two nodes. And you see the second one is actually having 3 containers. Well, one of these containers, you don't see it here, is actually the gateway. Yeah. By the way, you then might ask yourself, and what is that container? We'll talk about that container later, but this is basically then on my slides. Remember the container.
The Open vSwitch.
That's is this open? Okay, this is open. Yeah, this is an Open vSwitch container. Thank you, Geert. Yeah, I was wrong. So, okay, good. So, and what you see here, what I did, how is the configuration looking like? I'm not going to recreate it. I'm just going to discuss how we did set it up, just so that you understand. We created we defined 2 network interfaces. Yeah, there's the first one and the second one, right? Like this. Yeah, the first one is, remember, one of the types is default one. And the default name, I give the name, and it's just a default network that is needed in order for the gateway to get out. In this case,
it's a NAT interface.
It's the NAT interface, the NAT service interface. It's the one I discussed. I showed you when showing you VirtualBox, where I showed you at the level of VirtualBox, you had to make sure that you use a NAT service, and this is basically then connecting to it. Yeah. And then the second one, this is the VXLAN that we give a number. Yeah. And remember, that number should not be the same number at the left and the right side. Here we call it 1 to 3. You will see at the right side, we will name it 3 to 1. So just to make sure that you understand, there is no reason at all to give it the same number. However, what is important is that you specify clearly that it's in the same subnet. So you will see also at the other side that I use exactly the same configuration. Yeah? Then I have a DHCP server running on the gateway. And remember, make sure not to activate any DHCP server at the other side. I mean, at VirtualBox side. Here I then specify that I will accept, that there will be a container. Well, you cannot see it here whether it's a container, apart from the fact that I gave the name container. But I specify a MAC address, and you will see when I list all the containers that I make sure that I'm specifying the same MAC address, and that's why I specify the IP address it will get. Straightforward. Yeah. There is one extra thing that is really part of this exercise, is at the level of the DHCP servers. Yeah. No, not at the level of DHCP server, but at the level of this network interface, you also specify a bridge. Yeah. And it's important that the ID of the bridge should really be not be the same, not the same zero-tier network as the one you use for the management network. So let me show you, it's important. And there is one extra configuration that you need to be very aware of. So when I go to my zero-tier, like this, I show you my networks. What I did, I created a new network and I gave it the name bridge, just for my reference. Yeah, it's important not to auto-assign from the range. That's the thing to remember here. Make sure not to auto-assign anything here. Just create a bridge, well, create a zero-tier network, and that's it. Give the name and make sure you have the IP. And remember, at the account level, you then also can create, don't use them, please, API keys. I have 2 of them, yeah? And that's the second parameter you see here. Why is it? That's just so that when the gateway is getting created, that at your service itself will be capable of having this container running the gateway gets authorized to join this this zero-tier bridge, basically. This is what is responsible for bridging it. You'll see at the other side you will have to do the similar thing. Okay, that's one thing. What we then also did, the next thing is we need to create a container. So in that order, you go to, so you don't need to do anything else here. You don't need to do anything here. What we then did is create a container like this. So we created a container again with some name. Important here is a few things. First of all, make sure that the MAC address matches with the MAC address you specified in the hosts of the gateway. Also make sure that you clearly specify the same number, 1, 2, 3. That's what is important. Furthermore, this is new to you. We haven't shown you that until now. Make sure that you specify that the DHCP servers is set to, the configuration is set to true.
It's not really a must. You can also just set the IP address directly on the container, but we just did it like this time.
Yeah, good point. And I should also make sure that I make that clear in the documentation or in the slides. You have 2 options here. You could specify here hard-coded IP address, so there is no DHCP service involved. Or here I can specify, you know what, get the IP address from the DHCP service. Just as we have been doing with the virtual machines. Reason why you could specify it here immediately is because AOS can immediately go into the container, which would not be the case for the VM, I think. But okay, don't. Yeah. Furthermore, I'm specifying here an F-list for a standard Ubuntu environment. Okay, that's all that you need to do. Furthermore, you see us playing with jobs. That's something that you will want to do also to check whether everything is okay. Let me check what we have been doing here. Not this one.
First one.
The first one, yeah. So make sure. So the third thing that you will be doing at the left side to get everything nicely configured. So you set up the gateway, you create a container, and the third thing you need to do is this. Just launch a job. Again, make sure that you clearly specify here, in this case, node 1, right? And the only thing is I do is, let me show you. You say, you know what, I want a job, and check the document. You can check the documentation about that, and you say, you know what, I want to execute the command IP. Well, this is the path from which it's not really important what you set there, but anything. And as an extra option, you specify so API. So you can then launch this like this. Yeah. You don't see any response. The way that works is that you need to go to headers and you copy this thing here. Let me show you what you do with it. You copy this thing, copy. Then you go to get container job, and there you go to the string here and replace this part of the string. So get rid of it and replace it. Voila.
Well, basically what happens, the start only starts the job.
Yeah.
It can be a long-running job, and that's why it doesn't return a value immediately. Which is why you also have another way to kind of get the result if that already will exist.
Yeah. So you launch the job, and then in the result, in the header, you get like the ID of the job. And that's what we do now. With the ID of the job, we use then the get job container ID details basically. And there you see actually the result of the API command we executed on the container. And what you really need to verify is this thing here, is that indeed the container got an IP address and exactly the IP address we specified in the host section of the gateway. So this is just a check that everything is okay. So the left side is done. So now go to the right side. In my case, you just, again, use Insomnia. We switch to use BEJE3, BGE3. Yeah, okay. And let's check on the other side that everything is okay. On the other side, again, we need to do a few things. And let me show you also again in the slide so that everything is clear. So here we have created a container, we have created a gateway on one of the virtual boxes. Yeah. On one of the nodes. On the other side, I will be using now CPU 03 and CPU 04. Yeah? Yeah? And I will be creating again a gateway and a virtual machine. Yeah? And this time also I put them on two different nodes. Just as there, I could have put them on the same node, but I always like to make it a little bit more sophisticated, just to make the point that it's possible. Yeah, and this blue line is rather like a dotted line in a way. These will be connected through the configuration of the zero-tier bridge entry in the configuration. Let me show you how I do that. So again, a few steps. Yeah. On this side, what I did. Let's have a look, the nodes. So first of all, you go to nodes, you go to gateways, and you create a gateway. Now, instead of creating it, let's list it. And let me show you. What was it? CPU 3, right? Okay. List me the gateways, send. Yeah, okay, this is normal. It's because I need to update the JWT. I always do this here through this trick, clear, refresh. Just another way to do it. Copy, and well, let me try something that I changed here for the first time. And in this case, and I should be doing that for all other examples too. This time I'm adding it here, right? So not in the base environment, but in the environment variables specific to this one. Okay. Go back to list gateways and let's check it, right? Okay. So let's review what you see here. What is different? So the name, okay. And here you see a few things. The first thing is just as before, you specify what I called the other time the uplink to the VLAN. This time I take, as you see, I should update my picture, also another IP address. In this case, I should put 30. Remember in the other exercise we did like this. So let's change it to 30, okay? So that's what I specify here. And again, the same internet gateway that is available through the switch connected, physically connected to this G8 environment. So nothing special, just as before. What is extra? What is new in this environment? So this time I create yet another VXLAN. It's important to, well, you could put anything there, but the ID should be unique within the cluster. And it should certainly not be the same at both sides. You could put it, you could use the same one, between the two clusters, feel free to do so, but it's certainly not necessary, but make sure it's unique within the cluster. Yeah, this is a private VXLAN, and important again is, for this demo at least, make sure that you specify the same address space. Yeah? You see, 123.1 and in the CRDR notation 24, specifying the last 24 bits of this network specifies the hosts. Yeah. And again, I'm creating here a VM. It's a little bit wrong to say it's VM1 because in reality, if I need to change this in my demo, I will do it immediately. I need to, so VM4 we already had. Let's call this VM5. So that I don't forget. So this is VM5, right? And it's not important because it's just, for the rest it should not matter at all, but in my future updates I need to put 5 and 5 there. But more important is this one, of course. First of all, make sure that when you create the VM, that's the second step in this part of the story, that you specify the same MAC address, yeah, and make sure that you specify an IP address in the exact range, but this time specify 12. Make sure they don't conflict with each other, because otherwise clearly won't work. Yeah. Furthermore, you recognize the same entry for the zero-tier bridge, which is an entry to the private network. Yeah? So again, this is basically about this gateway we are talking, and we are specifying the uplink to the internet gateway. We are specifying the lack of the private network, and we are specifying a bridge, the blue line, and we have been specifying it at both sides. Yeah, see? So quite straightforward. And again, remember not to auto-assign from any range, because in this case, it will be the gateways that will be responsible for managing the IPs. So quite straightforward. What I did do more, I did specify a port forward, because we will do a demo, that we will log into this VM5, which is still VM1 in my setup here. And we make sure that, again, make sure that you specify the same address here and here. Yeah? And we do a port forward of 442 to 22. So we can then log in, and then from there we will be able to ping the other machine at the other side. So this is the first part. The second part at the right side is, well, remember that always first create a virtual disk. So if you have a look what I did with the create virtual disk, what I did, I created an whatever VM bridge. Basically, it's the name of the, you could put any name there. I just created a virtual disk here based on an image as available from the hub. Okay, that's the next thing you need to do. Then, once you have the boot disk available, yeah, based on an image available from the hub with a very specific name, you choose yourself, you then create a virtual machine. That's all what you also learned in the other exercise. So what I did do here, I created a VM, not a container this time, just to make a point that you could have combinations, of course, containers talking to VMs or containers talking to containers, whatever. Here, make sure that you, well, I should change it to VM5 to be correct here. Yeah. More important is that it's a bit confusing that we have used the same ID here, but the ID, just for clarity, would have been better with VM5. But make sure that this one clearly matches the disk you just created. Yeah. Furthermore, very important, make sure that you have a matching entry in the DHCP hosts list of the gateway we just created, and make sure you reference the same VXLAN. Yeah. So basically the exact same thing we showed you in the previous exercises. Once this has been done, again, what you will be doing, just to make sure everything works, what you could do many things, but what we did, let me check, just check well, there is nothing that you need to do here. What we did, let me show you, because everything is done now. What we then did here, and maybe let me make sure that I'm in the right, okay. Okay, exit. What I did, I log into, from my local machine, that's what you see here. From my local machine, I SSH into the virtual machine for which I set up the port forward. And remember, this is the VM5 we are going to log into. I'm always using as a good practice the -A. And remember, -A, make sure that my private key, as it is loaded in SSH agent, gets forwarded to the machine. Here, it's not important at all. You could drop the -A, no need to do so. Yeah. What I also did do, remember, I didn't discuss but it's important, of course, to make this work. When you check the gateway again, so here, make sure that that you specify here your public key, SSH key, so that I can easily log into this machine without having to specify any password. So I'm on the machine, and so also here I can double check that I got the correct IP address with IPA. So here I can do it interactively, and I see indeed that I got an IP address. Where is it? I'm overlooking it probably. And here it is, 12. Okay, nice. And the only thing, and that's basically the end of the demo, what you do, you ping the other side like this, 168.123.12. 11, right? And that's it. It should work, and it works. See, I'm basically talking from one machine to the other machine through the zero-tier bridge. And it is as these two virtual machines and the container are in the same VXLAN or in the same even cluster, but they clearly are not. So this is, I think, a good overview of how to set all these things. The slide, I think this one clearly shows what we did. What I need to add to the slides for you to reproduce everything is the exact steps as I showed you in the demo, which I will be adding as a follow-up today. So be sure about that. Voila. Voila. If you have questions, shoot. I'm there to help you. Clearly, I'm excited because it might sound stupid, but for us, this is a big step. Because this is one of the most asked features we have had in the last 2 years from customers, and it's a quite exciting time for me to finally be able to show it. Voila. Questions, ladies and gentlemen? Well, actually, there's only one lady. Lady and gentlemen, if you have questions, shoot. If you miss information, shoot. Let's do some follow-up here. Nobody?
Thank you.
Was it useful? Was it clearly presented, demonstrated? You all got, was there something that needs extra explanation? A special request of something I need to clarify better in the slides? Please let me know, because I still need to work on the slides too. Okay? All good?
Okay, good.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And tomorrow, I know some of you already start the weekend tonight. What I will do, again, I'll complete the slides. I have now another meeting. After the meeting, I will complete the slides. And tomorrow afternoon, I'll do a session on AYS talking to the orchestrator, which is a quite exciting topic too, which will be then the last session in the series. And we'll pick up again the second half of August, where we'll do more exciting stuff using OpenV Cloud. So for those that won't be able to attend the session of tomorrow, see you then. And for those that will, let's talk again tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.